I am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. All right, y'all. It is 34 degrees, Saturday, March 5th. Getting ready to go into Sunday, March 4th. Apparently, there is no rest for the wicked. And there are some wicked son of a bitches in Kitsap County. I thought I was going to have a day off today. Enjoy the day with my daughter. Hang out. Go and see the black violins. No, I can't do that. I got to cut my night short. Come on here. Have a conversation that cannot wait. So much bullshit. But I told you day before yesterday, yeah, we're going to be calling this shit out now. Yeah, we're going to be calling this out. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. You see the title, Leslie Daugs, Resignation. We're post-racial, right? Oh, boy. Oh, this is all Donald Trump's fault. It doesn't happen here. Not in Kitsap County. No, it happens here, apparently. So let me go ahead and share my screen so you know that I am reading from the article from the Kitsap Sun. So we are very crystal clear. Okay. Bremerton City Councilwoman Leslie Daugs resigns, alleges sexism, racism on the council. Now, this article from the Kitsap Sun was written by Josh Farley. This was published at 4:26 p.m. on March 3rd, 2022, and it was updated on 6:34 p.m. on March 3rd. So 2 days ago. All right. I'm going to scroll down here just so you can see the article. But of course, with the Kitsap Sun, you get all these ads and stuff. Kind of hard to read like this. So I just copy and pasted this into a Google Doc so I can read it easier. All right. Let me go ahead and click on that. And you can see this is all the same text. So let's get in and find out what the hell is going on. Who the hell Bremerton, Kitsap County just voted into office? What's been happening in this space? Bremerton City Council Vice President Leslie Daugs tendered her resignation Wednesday night in an emotional speech in which she accused some past and present council members of racism and sexism that she says denied her a chance at serving as council president. This is a quote from her. "This year was my third attempt to run for council president, and the white men collectively banded together to make sure this did not happen," Daugs said. "We will give you the position of vice president again, but I lack leadership, so you do not get president." Daugs, in her fourth term, representing the council's District 2 seat, encompassing much of the Wheaton Way corridor of East Bremerton, shocked the council with her sudden announcement. Now, why the hell would they be shocked? You know, people love to throw rocks and then hide their hands and then act like, well, what are you talking about? We're shocked. This just came out of nowhere. I thought we were all working together. I mean, maybe we didn't agree on everything, but, you know, the standard line that you hear. Sound familiar? All right. Daugs in her fourth term representing the council's District 2 seat encompassing much of the Wheaton Way corridor of East Bremerton. I am on the west side, just over the bridge. Shocked the council with her sudden announcement. Then she detailed more than 12 years, not a year, not a few months, 12 years of what she said were personal attacks and nastiness from her own peers. You know, it's hard enough to run as a person of color, LGBT candidate, right? And then you get into these spaces and you have all the people that voted for you that want you to change everything. And then you're in with the enemy, right? Trying to affect the change. And so there's no safe harbor, right? And many of us have been in those positions where we fight and we ascend and we get into the space and all we can do is try to hang on and do what we can. To note, it is critically important that it is not enough for your ass to sit and vote someone in. You must support their asses once they're in. Like you are voting every day. Because if they don't have their support, then they're going to suffer in silence for a decade and 2 years. And then finally throw in the towel. And now that she's gone, which of course is what they want, right? Because again, I'm shocked. I'm surprised that she would choose to do this. Right? It's great. We have no more opposition. We'll just go ahead and do what we're gonna do. Man, it took 12 years to get her ass out of there. Finally. Right? But evil never rests. We get tired, we go to sleep. Incremental successes because it's such an uphill battle that every inch that we get, we celebrate. But we rest on our laurels. We say, hey, she's there, she's doing the thing. He's there, he's doing the thing. But if you don't support it, it's a wonder why shit really doesn't change for you. Whatever your interests are. Since the day I first stepped up to run for office, I have been called a nothing for being a woman, a person of color, and a person that is proudly liberal, said Daugs, a Filipino American. Through her time on council, Daugs said there were always 2 or 3 council members who treated me with utter disrespect, including whispering derogatory comments, cornering her in hallways and elevators, and subjecting me to racist, derogatory, and misogynistic attacks. She did not mention names, but does she have to mention names? And the thing is, I tell people that are around me, you claim to be my friend. You claim to be a supporter. But yet, when someone is talking shit about me, you just stand by and just nod your head. You don't push back on it and you allow it to happen. You don't speak on it. So do you think that Leslie was the only person, right? This is happening to her. Do you think that this was only happening in a vacuum where no one else ever heard about this? So, we'll say, hey, well, there's always some bad apples. Damn the bad apples, right? That go along to get along attitude. So you think that no one else knew that it was okay? These things are just happening. And because they don't speak up, because they don't say, this is wrong, what's happening to her, then she looks like the crazy one, right? Sure, we've been there. Well, I just don't see racism here. I just don't see sexism here. I don't see misogyny here. I'm not sure what you see, and I mean I respect what you think and how you feel, and but I just we just don't see it, and there's been no other reports. So I mean I don't know what we do, but um I mean, if you can document it next time, or if there's a witness that's willing to come forward and say that, right, this is what's told, and now you look like the crazy person, and so year in and year out, she suffers. Okay. Hmm. Dog said she'd come to expect such behavior from certain members and could tolerate it, right? Because that's what we have to do. You have to tolerate it. That's what it is. That's what systemic racism is. That's what institutional racism is. So you have to tolerate it. And you want to make the change, right? Because you can complain about it or you can be about it and try to facilitate and foster change. So you run for office, you put yourself in a position and you win to try to make the change. You know what you're going to face. And you think, you know what? Everybody there isn't bad. And once I get there and I start doing this, all they need is someone to say, we're not going to do it this way anymore. And they will actually come on and find some bravery and say, hey, you know what? This is happening. We're not going to allow this to happen. And change can actually take place. But what happens is we don't say anything. That was told by a prominent pastor, one of the most powerful black pastors in Kitsap damn county last week. Man, brother, I need to come on the show. I've been wanting to get on there. And I'm like, come on. I'm afraid of what the Kitsap Sun might say about me if I come on the show. And it's a wonder why we're still in the same place that we're in. At some point, we deserve what the hell we get. You have all this damn power, this voice, these platforms, and you're scared. You don't want to be canceled. They're going to take away your grant. They're going to take away your contract. They're going to take away the favoritism that you have. You're not going to be the token nigga. But you want change. How the hell is it supposed to change? Goodnow said he wanted to run for the post. Oh, let me back up here. Dog said she come to expect the behavior from certain members and could tolerate, but in recent years, she said it was her allies, and that was the last straw that led to her resignation. In the race for council president, she said council president Michael Goodnow told her she didn't have the leadership skills for the job. It's so interesting that we always seem not to be qualified. And it's always someone else that's determining whether or not we're qualified for the job or not. Funny how that goes. So I find it very interesting when we talk about our experiences. We're the subject matter experts as we walk through this life. How I experience blackness, how we experience whatever category you find yourself in and advocating for. But then someone is going to tell you that you don't have the requisite credentials to be in leadership or be a spokesperson that's adequate enough for that particular position. And if these systems have been in place, and we understand it, right? Everyone will sign on to a letter and say, we understand that there are these systemic issues and institutional issues and policies that have discriminated against people from the dawn of American history. But yet, hey, we couldn't find, we looked for a qualified black candidate. We just couldn't find any. I mean, no one applied, or they just didn't have the requisite skills. Well, how the hell were they supposed to get the requisite skills? And so they tell you, well, we couldn't find Michael Jordan, so we had to go with another white candidate. Sound familiar? That's the trick bag. And we go for it, right? Or they look for the flaws in that particular person that comes up. Well, they have this in their background, or this is, there just some of the other candidates were just a lot stronger. There was a great fit. Talked about my experience at the Navy. Heavily female, having an issue with getting men hired into place. And so you have the same thing going on there that you have in this situation here. So who are you going to feel more comfortable with? Interesting. But she said City Council President Michael Goodnow told her she didn't have the leadership skills for the job. So we need to go ahead and do a deep dive on these folks. I actually don't know who these council people are. But it's time that the conduit starts to investigate who is making decisions in this city, how it impacts each one of us. Goodnow said he wanted to run for the post because he thought he could bring efficiency to leading the city council's meetings and agenda. He noted that he supported Daugs a year earlier for president, and he praised her years in office as well as friendship with her. What? So wait a minute. You supported her last year to run for president. You're her friend, but this year I'm going to run, and you don't have the leadership skills to be president, but I voted for you last year. Now, is that not doublespeak? Again, let me just read these two paragraphs again, right? Because these are quotes from each person. So this isn't hearsay. Daugs said she come to expect such behavior from certain members and could tolerate it. But in recent years, she said it was her allies. Goodnow was an ally last year. And that was the last straw that led to her resignation, to her to resign in the race for council president. She said City Council President Michael Goodnow told her she didn't have the leadership skills for the job. Goodnow said he wanted to run for the post because he thought he could bring efficiency to leading the city council's meetings and agenda. So your leadership is just leading a meeting in the agenda? What kind of leadership skills do you need for I bring the meeting to order and go down a list of agendas? She's been doing it for 12 years. She doesn't have the requisite leadership skills to do that? But let's continue. He noted, Goodnow, that he supported Daugs a year earlier for president, right? Her allies. He praised her years in office as well as his friendship with her. So in 12 years, she has not amassed any experience or leadership being a councilwoman for the district? Is that not the mere definition of leadership? So again, in the first paragraph, she says, the final straw was, man, my allies, my friends turned on me. And then the friend says, yeah, I voted for her last year, but this year it's me. And you know what? You don't have the leadership skills. I need to run the meeting and the agenda. I hereby call this meeting to order. Well, my daughter could do that shit. Whew. Leslie and I have been friends for many years, and I just felt awful about the situation, Goodnow says. Right? He didn't feel too awful. You ever want something? You tell your friend you want something. They gas you up. Yeah. You know what? You deserve that. Go ahead. You know, I'm behind you. I support you. So how does he praise her 11 years of experience, but then in year 12, all of a sudden, you don't have the requisite skill set? I'm going to run against you, but we're friends. And I know that you wanted this, but you know what? I want it now. So much for your friends. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer, but know who the hell is actually your friend and who's stabbing you in your back. Like I told you, I like my racism the nice Southern way. Like the gentleman who was on 2 nights ago, right? That was spitting all that vile and venom about black men. Give it to me straight in my face. I know what I'm dealing with. I don't want the one that shakes my hand and smiles and tells me I'm doing such a great job and got the knife in the other hand. Talking slick and greasy behind my back. Plotting against me. There's a lot of coons that do that here in this damn town now. You offended by the word coon? You'll hear a lot more in 22. The council president and vice president typically assign other council members to committees and other assignments. But Daugs said Goodnow sent her a finalized list without a conversation. Goodnow said he was merely taking a stab at it, as he could not get a hold of Daugs at the time he was forming it, and he and had hoped to collaborate with her. I mean, innocent old me, right? I mean, I was just trying to, be a good steward and be helpful. See, on the one hand, they talk all that rah-rah shit, and then on the other hand, they come back and now they're all meek and timid, and I was just trying to do my best. But you know how some of these folks talk behind the scenes. Goodnow said he was merely taking a stab at it, as he could not get a hold of Daugs at the time he was forming it and had hoped to collaborate with her. Mayor Greg Wheeler, who served with Daugs on the council, said he was saddened at the news of losing a member of council who provided leadership for younger members, as well as someone who has always had her district in mind. So the mayor is saying that she had leadership and she was providing leadership to younger members, but she didn't have the requisite leadership? Someone's lying. I believe she earned the right to be council president, the mayor said. In her letter, Daugs also specifically accused former councilman Mike Simpson, who said she, who she said had used the line trying to mix manure and vanilla ice cream and expecting it to taste good during a discussion to establish better race equity in the city. Simpson disputed ever making the remarks while on council that were racist toward Daugs or anyone else. It's nonsense, he said Thursday. So this is where you need to dig deeper, right? Because the question that should be asked here is, while Simpson is disputing that he ever made remarks while on the council that were racist, did he consider the statement that she said here to be racist? You see how both things can be true at the same time? Because if he doesn't believe, hey, you know what? This is just an analogy here, right? Trying to mix manure and vanilla ice cream and expecting it to taste good during a discussion to establish better race equity in the city. Well, on its face, it just seems like, a tangible example of how you're trying to put things together and how it's not going to work. And people are going to be resistant to it. It's not at all racist, right? Hmm. Thank you, Jewel. It's nonsense, he said Thursday. Daugs said she is most proud of her work helping bring life back to a beleaguered Wheaton Way quarter over the past decade and aiding her constituents with neighborhood quality of life projects like bringing Hanford Avenue residents speed humps to slow traffic. She also worked to establish a race equity committee and was a longtime board member through the Council on Kitsap Transit, as well as a frequent advocate of Bremerton and Olympia. Before I go on, let me just back up just a second there, because something hit me as I was reading the next paragraph. So we're talking about race equity, and you're trying to come up with a tangible example. We're talking about race, black and white. So what he chose to use was vanilla ice cream and manure. So white people are the nice, tasty ice cream, and people of color are shit. See how that could be considered a racist statement? But people that are intellectually dishonest would say, no, 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 that's not a racist statement. I mean, I don't know how you got that from that. See, that's that slick talking greasy shit that people do. And then you can't hold them to it. Right? Joe Rogan, well, he's not racist, but then the mainstream media does not cover him going into a movie theater and talking about all these people looking like Planet of the Apes. Well, that's clearly a racist statement, but no one's talking about that, right? And one of the most horrendous things that we do to each other is we let the dominant society tell us who we need to cancel, and we get rid of our people quick, fast, in a hurry. This one got to go. That one got to go. And you know what? We stand in line and we condemn them, right? Whether it's moral high ground or they actually do need to go. But the white ones, they don't never do that, right? Plausible deniability. No, I know him. I know her. And, that's just not who they are. And they say, well, that's not who I am, right? I mean, that's what was said here. Socially acceptable racism. Yeah, absolutely. Big Bear Bald Eagles Jackie and Shadow welcome first eaglet since 2019. A 106-year-old World War II vet who received more than 300,000 Valentine's Day cards has died. Oh, this is not part of the thing here. Daugs began her career on the city council by defeating 16-year incumbent Cecile McConnell in 2011. Daugs was also the first choice of Kitsap County Democratic to replace Josh Brown of the Kitsap County Board of Commissioners in 2014. But the commissioners bypassed her and selected Linda Straguth instead. Forgive me for the pronunciation. who ultimately lost to Republican Ed Wolf. In 2017, at Jeff Sessions' confirmation hearings for U.S. Attorney General in Washington, D.C., Daugs yelled bullshit and was arrested, though the charges were later dropped. Okay, she noted in her letter the response including being called a disgrace by a former council member. Okay, so first off, my question for the person who wrote this article, what the hell does this sentence have to do with what she's alleging? This happens to black folks all the time when you write an article, right? Oh, Trayvon Martin is murdered. Let's go and find his school record. Let's see if he has a juvenile record. Let's look at his grades. Let's dig around. So even if he was in the right place at the wrong time and wasn't doing anything, we can go back 20 years and start to pick out the things that he did as a youth or as she did as a youth. They're not even that person anymore, right? But they get a pass. They don't talk about those things. Or you have a white mass shooter and they say, well, maybe it's a mental health issue. It's an opiate crisis. They need help. We need jail. I think that's interesting that this would be in the article. There's also many council members over the years, Daugs said she felt a cordial relationship with. She noted in an interview with the Kitsap Sun, those included Mike Sullivan, who, as a Republican, was politically opposite. But we worked very well together because our goals were to make the city better, she said. Daugs said she isn't sure what she'll do next, but she loves working in politics. I love my community, and we'll see what doors open, she said. Resignation takes effect March 18th. The city council will seek candidates and appoint an interim member for her seat to serve out the rest of her term through 2023. You know what might be nice? Is whoever's job it is to appoint an interim, they pull a Joe Biden and they say, you know what? This is going to go to a person of color. And there should be an investigation. That is transparent and isn't internal. That's what needs to happen. And I hate to see her leave. But I understand it because at some point you can only fight alone for so long. And I know there are a lot of people that support her. But again, when you're in the trench by yourself, in those closed doors, in those meetings, and see, these folks, they have years of perfecting those backhanded compliments. The microaggressions, the overt. It digs, it cuts, it grinds you down. And they're literally wondering, how the hell did she last 11, 12 years? She was well respected. That's what our mayor said. She was leading the younger folks coming in. That's what the mayor said. The current president said, hey, I was her friend and I supported her running for president the year before. So as the president, I think it would be incumbent upon him to get down to the bottom of this. Because clearly she was well respected. She held the job that the community continued to vote her in. So she had the faith of her constituents. So we demand that there is an investigation that is done. So if you wonder why things aren't progressing fast enough, where most of our momentum was in the 60s and now we're quite stagnated, and we get a lot of performative, tokenized wins, this is one of those reasons why. There is a hearing coming up, believe, on Tuesday where we'll be addressing the city council. I'll put that information out. You definitely should participate. You can no longer sit on the bench. You can no longer say, "Hey, the ones that are in the fight, they got this. They know we got them there. They could take it from there." They can't. They need the continued support of all of us, constantly, because they're waiting for you to be alone. And once you're alone, they capitalize. And if you notice, most cowards never attack alone. They always attack in a group. And then they back each other's play, right? Because, well, let's just see. Again, she's been here 12 years. So is she lying about all this? Is this a figment of her imagination? And I'm a firm believer of trust but verify. But she's a well-respected, well-trusted leader. So it doesn't seem like this is a figment of her imagination. I didn't hear anything in here. And again, in the interview, Wheeler, the mayor, gave a comment. The president gave a comment. Mike Simpson gave a comment. But is anyone talking about we need to get to the bottom of this? No, we just want to accept the letter of resignation and let's go ahead and move on. Don't worry. The people of color, LGBT community, they'll be occupied with something else soon enough. And this will just go on. They don't really care about down ballot politics anyway. They really just care about president. So you can prove them right or you can prove them wrong. I know that in her district, Wheaton Way, right? There's another article in the Kitsap Sun that talks about, oh, well, last year during COVID, when people were driving less, the camera cams, well, it's redundant. The traffic cams captured more people and wrote the most tickets, I think, in the history of those cameras. And where are the cameras? In the low income areas. Where are the cameras? The college, the west side, the east side. So you could say, oh, well, it's to keep people safe, right? No, it's a revenue generator. You want things to change? Who the hell is advocating for those to go away? Why don't you go put them up on Ridgetop, somewhere in Silverdale? Why aren't they there? How about you build a roundabout like you do in Port Orchard instead of putting traffic lights in there? You got to wake up and watch how you get different treatment. As much as we don't like roundabouts, sure don't like the traffic cams, sure don't like paying those tickets. I think it's what, $147 somewhere around those lines. Can you afford a traffic cam ticket? Yeah, you don't see them there, right? So why not? So the Port Orchard citizens, well, they just get inconvenienced, even though, I believe the roundabouts are shown to improve traffic and it naturally slows people down. And if it increased accidents, they probably wouldn't put them in. So if that's the case, then why do people in Bremerton get traffic cams? Yeah, absolutely. So keep banging on the poor. And that's you, the low income, the folks that are fighting during COVID, right? It's time, y'all. I tell you, power is taken, it is not given. Now, Kuye will be on sometime this week because this isn't going to go away with just one show. We're going to continue to follow up, have these conversations. We're going to reach out to Leslie Daugs, see if she'll come back onto the conduit. It's a different time, people. And maybe I wasn't here before, but I'm here now. So go ahead, try to cancel me. Say what you want. People say, I believe in God. I have faith. And with God with me, what is it? What can some man do? Something along those lines. They could do what they want. But you'll recognize it when it happens. That's how you know you're doing good. So let's do good. Band together. You can break a match. But if you have a whole pack of matches, it's a whole lot harder to break. Let's come together. Make change. Weigh in. Enough is enough. We're done. I'm R1 Cameron. This is The Conduit. We'll be back.